President Trump can convince Putin to go to the peace table, to engage in ceasefire, and to find a win-win solution for both countries to stop the killing. You'll never know till you try, and there's one person on the planet capable of doing that, and that is President Trump. If Putin is playing Trump, he will regret it.
See, we have something to announce maybe by Tuesday. I'll be speaking to President Putin on Tuesday, and a lot of work's been done over the weekend. We want to see if we can bring that war to an end. Maybe we can, maybe we can't, but I think we have a very good chance.
What sort of concessions will you be seeking to have Putin make to get a deal done?
Well, I think we'll, be talking about land. It's a lot of land. It's a lot different than it was before the wars, And we'll be talking about land. We'll be talking about power plants. That's that's a big question. But I think we have a lot of it already discussed very much by both sides.
You'll ask him.
Ukraine and Russia.
You'll ask him.
We're already talking about that, dividing up certain assets. Yeah, and they've been working on that.
This is my video update on this Monday midday, March the 17th, coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And we are going to start things off with the news that we will have a possible phone call between U.S. President Trump and Putin. That phone call most likely will take place tomorrow. Trump said this while he was on Air Force One. Trump, speaking to reporters, talked about how the U.S. and Russia are discussing territory in Ukraine. He talked about how the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant appears to be under discussion. And then he said that most likely he will be speaking with Putin on Tuesday. He said that things are going well and we could be very close to some sort of a ceasefire deal. That's what Trump said. The Kremlin is staying quiet. They are not saying anything. Trump unveils date for next call with Putin. The Kremlin has yet to confirm a specific date for the next conversation between the two leaders. I imagine if Trump is saying that the call is going to take place tomorrow, even though the Kremlin has not said anything yet, I imagine the call is going to take place tomorrow. By the time this video goes up, perhaps the Kremlin will put up a statement or an announcement saying that the call is indeed going to take place tomorrow. Good morning, Mr. Cat. How are things going? Just another manic Monday, huh? Yeah, I know. Take care. Have a good one. Just saying good morning to the cats, everybody. Just saying good morning to the cats. Let's talk about Witkoff and Waltz, Rubio. They went on the Sunday talk shows in the United States, and they said all kinds of interesting things. Witkoff talked about the nuclear power plant as well, huh? 1 second. What did Witkoff say? Witkoff talked about the Zaporozhye NPP, who's going to claim ownership of the ZNPP. And he talked about access to the ports in the Black Sea. Odessa is what I imagine Witkoff was referring to.
I met with President Putin. I think the meeting was somewhere between 3 and 4 hours. It was positive. We discussed, it was a solution-based discussion, and that's how I would describe it.
Not sure what they mean, Trump and Witkoff, when they talk about ownership of the ZNPP. Because in the Russian constitution, under Russian law, the oblast, Zaporozhye, is part of the Russian Federation. And that would mean the ZNPP as well. We'll find out soon enough what is going on. But that's what Witkoff said. Waltz, he said that Russia and the United States are in talks about territory. He said that Ukraine is going to have to make concessions when it comes to territory. He also said that the conflict in Ukraine is not in the U.S.'s national interest. He mentioned that as well. And he also said that the U.S. could still employ a little bit of a carrot and stick approach. That yes, they're talking about concessions, but the U.S. could decide to toughen up on certain things like sanctions or whatever. He kind of implied that in his discussions with, I believe it was with Fox News that he was speaking to.
This is going to be some type of territory for future security guarantees, the future status of Ukraine, a pathway, a permanent pathway into NATO or permanent membership into NATO for Ukraine is incredibly unlikely. And that's not just from the United States. That's from
we're just running out of time here.
That's from a number of other countries as well. So those are all the components, Martha. We know the components. There is a deal that will be had here.
And Rubio said that the plan is a ceasefire. Plan A is a ceasefire because he said you can't negotiate if both sides are shooting at each other. And then they're going to move on to Plan B, which is to sit down and to negotiate everything else that comes after a ceasefire. So Rubio said that the strategy is two-part. Plan A is to get a ceasefire, to stop the shooting, and Plan B is to move on to negotiations. Ukraine will have to make territorial concessions, according to Waltz. Trump's national security advisor has also indicated that the U.S. is ready to ramp up sanctions pressure on Russia if it declines a 30-day ceasefire. So that's what Waltz said. We are getting reports from Politico that Ukraine is now signaling that it's open to sanctions relaxation if a ceasefire is agreed. This is coming from Politico. Ukraine open to Russia sanctions relaxation as part of a peace deal. Hard-hitting economic measures can be used as leverage to secure justice from Moscow, Ukraine's sanctions chief tells Politico. Medvedev said some interesting things as well on X. But before we get to Medvedev, the sense of where this is going, what I'm getting out of this is that we're looking at, so far we're looking at Russia remaining firm on Istanbul Plus, root causes. Istanbul Plus is what we call on the Duran root causes, which is what Putin laid out in his June 2024 speech, Russia's terms for a settlement. We know what those terms are. The root causes that Russia wants to have agreed on so that we can get some sort of a peace deal. And that's where Russia is holding firm. And the Trump White House, they appear to be starting at Istanbul. I think this is where we are right now. And Witkoff actually said during his interview yesterday that it is Istanbul. They're looking at Istanbul as some sort of a foundation. He's actually said this a couple of times. And when I talk about Istanbul, we're talking about Istanbul 2022, the agreement that was in place that Boris Johnson then flew to Kiev and sabotaged. So it looks like the Americans are angling for Istanbul, and Russia is saying, no, things have changed. The dynamics on the ground obviously have changed. We're advancing, we're winning, Ukraine is crumbling. Europe is not doing so well. Europe is crumbling. The collective West NATO defeated. So we're remaining at Istanbul Plus, June 2024, root causes terms. That's where we are. The question is, will Putin and Russia continue to remain firm on the root causes June 2024 terms, or will they give a little and move towards the American side, which is Istanbul, or will the U.S. just give Istanbul Plus, just give Russia root causes 2024, June 2024? Will they give Russia everything it asks for? Because Waltz did say that none of this is really in the U.S.'s national interest, and he's right. He is absolutely right. We've been saying this on the Duran for a while now. What effect does it have on the United States, on the U.S.'s national interests, if June 2024 root causes Istanbul Plus is given to Russia? That means all of Zaporozhye, all of Kherson, all of Donetsk, Lugansk. How does it affect the United States? It doesn't. Zero. It has zero effect on the U.S. or the Trump administration. Anyway, we'll see how all of this unfolds. Let's get back to Medvedev. He posted on X, Macron and Starmer are playing dumb. Time and again, they are told that peacekeepers must be from non-NATO states. No, we will send tens of thousands. Just lay it out. You want to give military aid to the neo-Nazis in Kiev. That means war with NATO. Consult with Trump. Scumbags. That was his message on X, Medvedev, and he is referring to Starmer's announcement that the UK is now in an operational phase to send troops to Ukraine if some sort of a 30-day ceasefire is agreed. And Macron, he gave interviews yesterday, and he said that France will send peacekeepers to Ukraine without Russia's consent. Macron does not consider Russia's opinion important on peacekeeping mission in Ukraine. That is what little Napoleon said. The flip-flopper in chief of France, the flip-flopper in chief of France, Emmanuel Macron, saying that he doesn't care what Russia thinks. He said Ukraine is a sovereign nation. If Ukraine asks us, then we will send troops. That is what Macron said. If Ukraine asks us, we'll send troops. It's going to be a few thousand troops, he said, and they're going to keep the peace or secure certain areas in Ukraine. That is what Macron said in an interview. So we got the response from Medvedev. Scumbags, he said. Scumbags. But Medvedev did say in his message, time and again, they are told that peacekeepers must be from non-NATO states. I think that's a very revealing sentence from Medvedev. It's Medvedev saying that peacekeepers are being discussed, or that Russia is open to peacekeepers as long as they're non-NATO. So an interesting post from Medvedev, interesting statements from Macron and Starmer. They continue to play this theater that they're going to send troops into Ukraine. Maybe they will. Maybe they will send troops, but what happens when those troops are smashed by the Russian military? Does the French government fall apart? Does the UK government collapse? They're going to run to the United States and ask for what? For U.S. involvement, for U.S. boots on the ground? I don't think they're going to get that. I think Trump is going to tell them, nope, sorry, we're not getting involved in this. We told you, if you wanted to go into Ukraine, you can go into Ukraine, but without us. Then what happens to the UK and France if they don't have the United States backing them up? This could all be a bluff. Probably is a bluff. Macron and Starmer trying to appear to remain relevant. They're part of the negotiation process. You see, we're part of the ceasefire and the peace deal. We're important. I'm little Napoleon. I'm important. I'm 008. I'm important. That's what I believe much of this is about. But who knows? Maybe they will send troops into Ukraine. Maybe Ukraine will say, yeah, send a couple of thousand troops our way, and Macron and Starmer may do it. They'll get annihilated by the Russian military. The US will tell them, sorry, nothing we can do. Then we'll see what happens in France and the UK. We'll see what happens to the governments of Macron and the government of Starmer. Anyway, we still have some ways to go before we get to that point. Let's see what happens tomorrow during the phone call between Trump and Putin. It's going to be a big day tomorrow. It's going to be a big week. So we are getting reports that, and this is coming from Russian media, RIA Novosti, that about 30 officers from NATO countries were surrounded in the Kursk region. This is coming from Russian media, RIA Novosti. So keep that in mind. The source for this information is Sergei Lebedev, who is coordinator of the pro-Russian Nikolaev resistance. He told RIA Novosti, according to the underground, there are about 30 NATO military officers in the encirclement in the Kursk region who were engaged in commanding troops on the spot, as well as receiving incoming intelligence data of NATO satellites and adjusting strikes into the territory of Russia. I don't know if I believe this. It does make sense. Why would Trump all of a sudden put out a post on Truth Social asking Putin to spare the lives of the Ukrainian troops in Kursk? He puts that on Truth Social for the Ukrainian troops. There must have been something more in Kursk for Trump to put a post out there like that. NATO officials, US officials, we are getting reports that Polish mercenaries were fleeing Kursk when it was clear that Kursk was collapsing. The Polish mercenaries were getting out of the region. So we do have those reports. I can't confirm those reports, but of course, why not? Makes sense that there are Polish mercenaries fighting in Kursk. There are Polish mercenaries fighting across the entire front line. So why would they not also be in Kursk? But a lot of Ukraine soldiers have started to get out of Kursk on foot. So we do have a lot of Ukraine soldiers that did manage to leave Kursk, leave all of their equipment, everything behind, and they managed to escape on foot. But 30 NATO officials trapped. Very much reminds me of Debaltsevo, where the reports were that Merkel flew to Moscow and begged Putin to spare the lives of hundreds, if not thousands, of NATO soldiers, NATO officers and NATO soldiers who were trapped in a cauldron in Debaltsevo. Maybe we're talking about a lot more than 30. RIA Novosti says 30 officers. If there are 30 officers, NATO officers in Kursk, how many NATO soldiers, how many collective West mercenaries, as they brand them, are in Kursk? Probably a lot, if you believe these reports from RIA Novosti. So today's the deadline, according to the Kremlin. Either they lay down their weapons, or the Russian military will do what it has to do. That was the the message from Peskov the other day. And if these are NATO officers, if we're talking about NATO soldiers who are indeed stuck in Kursk, then it's not really Zelensky who has to tell them to lay down their weapons, is it? When Putin gave his response to Trump and he said that he will spare their lives and treat them in accordance with international law and Russian law when they're captured, was he addressing, and Putin said you have to give them the orders to lay down their weapons, was he addressing the Kiev regime, or was he addressing NATO command in the United States? Because if these are American, Polish, French, British, NATO forces, NATO officers, collective West mercenaries, the order to lay down their weapons would come from the collective West, not from Kiev. So perhaps Putin was not talking to Zelensky and Syrskyi. Maybe he was talking to NATO. Tell them to lay down their weapons. Well, the deadline's today, and we'll see how all of this unfolds. The New York Times, they actually put out an article where they say that Kursk has collapsed. Ukraine retreats from all but a sliver of land in Russia's Kursk region. The daring campaign Ukraine launched last summer to seize and occupy Russian territory appears to be nearing an end. When the New York Times comes out and has to admit that Kursk is over, then you definitely know it's over, and you definitely know when you read this title that it did not go well for the Zelensky regime, even though Zelensky continues to claim that mission was accomplished in Kursk. Everything went according to plan. Actually, the foreign minister of Ukraine, who no one knows his name, no one knows what this guy's name is. I just remember Kuleba. The new guy, don't know, don't care. But he gave an interview to Japanese media, and he said that the Ukraine military is still operating in Kursk. All is good, and the Ukraine military is still operating in Russian territory, and they're going to trade the Russian territory in negotiations for Ukraine territory that Russia controls. That is what the foreign minister told this Japanese news outlet. The New York Times also is reporting that the U.S. is going to withdraw from a group investigating responsibility for Ukraine invasion. And they've notified the Europeans about this. The decision is the latest indication of the Trump administration's move away from holding President Vladimir V. Putin of Russia accountable for crimes committed against Ukrainians. This group, from what I understand, was this investigative group that was put together by the collective West. They were pushing the narrative of the children and the ICC warrant against Putin. That's what this group was all about. And the United States has just told their European allies, their best buddies, that they're out. They're out of this group. You guys deal with it. We're done. So that was an interesting report from the NYT. And I think that covers everything for Project Ukraine. It's going to be an interesting week when it comes to Ukraine. We'll see if everything is going to wind down and move towards a ceasefire, or if things will continue to be dictated by the front line, by what is happening on the front where Russia is advancing. Keep an eye out for the south. Now that Kursk is wrapped up, we are getting reports that Russia is preparing a big advance in the south, in the Zaporozhye, Kherson direction. And Ukraine is freaking out. The Ukraine military is really freaking out. So we do have an update on on what's going on in Yemen, in the Middle East. The Houthis, after the U.S. airstrike into Yemen, the reports were that the Houthis launched missiles and drones at a U.S., I believe, an aircraft carrier, I believe the Eisenhower. I don't know, I forgot. But they launched missiles and drones, and they were shot down. They were knocked down. But from the U.S. side of things, they're reporting that the only thing that was sent their way that they knocked down were drones. They did not report on missiles being launched by the Houthis, but the Houthis are threatening attacks on U.S. warships. The de facto Yemen authorities have vowed retaliation for the ongoing deadly bombing campaign. So let's do a clown world, and we can wrap this Monday video up. I've walked most of the wall, huh? Not all of it. To walk all of it, I'll probably need about an hour. But I walked a good chunk of it. So let's do some clown worlds on this Monday. I can't see in there, but can you guys see in there? I'm not that tall. So Trump is saying that all of the pardons from Biden are not valid. They're void because Biden used an auto pen. An auto pen. Does the signatures an auto pen? Yeah, he says that Biden gave all these pardons with an auto pen. And this means that all of the pardons, his family pardons, Liz Cheney, Fauci, Milley, the J6 committee, I believe Shifty Shift was pardoned. Anyway, all of these pardons are null and void. That is what Trump is saying. He actually posted on Truth Social an image of his portrait in 2017, his first term as president. And then in the middle, Biden's term is just an auto pen, a photo of an auto pen. And then you have Trump's second term, 2025 to the present. An auto pen. An auto pen means that the pardons are no good, according to Trump. And he put it out on Truth Social as well. The pardons that sleepy Joe Biden gave to the unselect committee of political thugs and many others are hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect because of the fact that they were done by auto pen. In other words, Joe Biden did not sign them, but more importantly, he did not know anything about them. And then he goes on to talk about Biden and the auto pen and the fact that these pardons are null and void. Can this happen? Can this really be? Can the pardons really be null and void because the president used an auto pen? This is going to be an interesting one. I'm very curious to see how this one unfolds. So we have reports from UK tabloid media, the very reliable UK Mirror, which says exclusive: Vladimir Putin humiliated by Russians for sending obvious body double to Ukraine front line. Russian President Vladimir Putin has been mocked by social media users who questioned his attendance at the Kursk region war zone as they believe he sent a dodgy body double in his place. Yes, he sent the body double, one of his many body doubles. Biden signing with an auto pen. Putin is sending body doubles according to the UK Mirror. I believe the Biden one, yeah, they were signed by auto pen, no doubt about it. But that was Putin. That was Putin in Kursk. No doubt about that one either. There are no body doubles. There were no body doubles in Kursk. There might be some body doubles for Putin. That would not surprise me, but that trip to Kursk, that was all Vladimir Putin. Anyway, that's the video. theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, like what I'm wearing in this video update. a Duran t-shirt with the flag of Greece. You will find a link in the description box down below. The U.S. must return the Statue of Liberty to France, according to a French European Parliament member. Raphael Glucksmann has claimed that Americans apparently despise the gift which symbolizes freedom. Yeah, this story, I was reading this story this morning. So this European Parliament member from France is upset that the U.S. is negotiating with Russia on Project Ukraine, and he is saying that the U.S. should return the Statue of Liberty because the United States does not know what democracy and freedom represents anymore, as if France knows, as if the European Union knows what democracy and freedom is all about. The European Union that cancels elections in Romania. they're the people that know about democracy and freedom. So return the Statue of Liberty, according to this European Parliament member. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. Take care.